Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to go over some best practices that we've gathered from our experience sending out campaigns. A lot of these you've probably gathered just based on your own experience and your own research, but these are really the ones that we want to highlight here today. We're going to go through the different parts of the campaign. We're going to go just a little bit further and talk about some best practices along the way. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind is your audience. Now, the main thing here is to maintain a clean list. So as you start sending more campaigns, you're going to have several mailing lists. Your subscribers are going to come from multiple sources, and it's really important that you keep those organized and you maintain a clean list. And one of the things to keep in mind is to not purchase any of your subscribers from a third-party vendor. This can greatly affect your open and spam rates. So it may have some good benefits in the short term, building up that mailing list, sending out your campaigns, but in the long run, purchasing will definitely affect your overall reputation as a brand. So we don't recommend doing that. Also, when creating your list, you want to avoid group addresses. So don't have anything that's info at or support at, sales app. The main reason there is you don't want your campaigns going to a large group of people. Ideally, you would send it to individuals who want to hear from you, who opted in to hearing from you, and they'll understand your content better. So definitely strive for individuals in your mailing list. Double opt-in. Earlier we talked about how email is one of the most effective forms of digital marketing communication. It's, of course, low cost when done in-house, and you can really target the most relevant content. But another reason for that is that it's permission-based. You're sending your content to people who have opted into hearing from you. So double opt-in is something that we really recommend that you ensure. And one of the easiest ways, of course, is to use a sign-up form. I mentioned in the first session that every mailing list in your campaign's account you can associate with a sign-up form. So for those of you who weren't there in that session, let me just show you real quickly where you can set that up. So for each of your mailing lists here, you can add a sign-up form. And that's a great organic way to add more subscribers to your mailing list. So they'll come to your website, your blog, your social media pages, and they would have opted in to receiving your campaigns. Of course, it's important to really know your subscribers. Segmenting and targeting is a great practice, so you can really divide your list by industry, company, geography is a big one. And when creating segments, again, it does depend on your content, but the more you can segment and test various subject lines, different content, you can really improve your campaigns over time. So again, I'm going to go to one of our mailing lists here, and you can see the option to create a segment. And here's where you can define the criteria for that. Okay, and also, if you're integrated with Zoho CRM, you can segment your list based on some views that you have in your CRM as well. And then once you go to send out your email campaign, you can choose just that segment to send the campaign to. So once you have your audience already in mind, your subject line is another really critical part of your campaign. This, of course, is the first impression. This is what encourages your recipients to open your email, so it's really important that you drive that home. And what we have found is 50 characters or less is really the best practice. If it's on mobile, probably want to do even less. So if you know everyone's opening it on their smartphone, strive for 25 characters or less. You want to be sure that you personalize the subject whenever you can. We say here to be selective, and what we mean by that is you want to be sure that you have that value for whatever merge tag you're using in the subject line for each of your subscribers in your list. So if you're going to use the first name merge tag, just be sure you have that. Many people, if you're sending a really mass email campaign, of course, you're not going to have that value for all of your subscribers. So be selective, think about the content and the type of campaign, and if personalizing works, then we definitely suggest you do that. So when you go to create an email campaign, you can see here, as you're creating your subject line, you have the option to personalize it. And again, that would just be with using a merge tag for a first name or company name, whatever you feel. Another thing to keep in mind, of course, is the wording that you use in your subject line. Many people are concerned about being marked as spam. So if you use words like free, offer, discount, sale, anything in all caps or special characters, you want to try to avoid that. Just, you want to make it look like it's coming from a human, from one human to the other, and you don't want to make it seem robotic or spam in any way. So moving on, let's talk about some best practices for content. Of course, this is pretty obvious, but you want to stay relevant. And that's why it's important to know your audience first. You want to send targeted, relevant content. Another thing is if you're going to use images, try not to make your entire template just one image. When you're creating your header and footer, as we'll talk about in a little bit, you have the option to view your content in browser. But if all of your content is just one image, that's going to take a long time to load. So really be selective when choosing your images. And of course, remember mobile. This is an increasing trend, as we've been saying all morning. Everyone is using their mobile devices to view more of your content. And one of the advantages of Zoho campaigns is all of our templates are responsively designed. So we can definitely ensure that. And when you're going through your reports, which is really important in improving your campaigns, I pointed this out in the first session. You want to be sure that you check the user agent report here. So you'll see the percentage of recipients who view your content on their mobile devices. Okay, so that's really important to keep in mind when you're creating your content. Now, the header and footer is another important aspect. And this is where you can customize this. And there's a couple important links that you should keep in mind when creating this. And we have a settings called campaign themes inside Zoho campaigns where you can customize your header and footer. So I'm going to show you that real quickly, and you're going to go to Settings. There's an option here for Campaign Themes, and I'll add a new theme. So depending on the type of campaign that I'm creating. Okay, you can see that you can customize it here. It's important to note the unsubscribe link. This is something that we check for during the anti-spam review process, so it's really important to include it here. You can also include this in the content of your campaign. There's a merge tag for the unsubscribe link, but if you don't do that, you must include it in your footer. You can also use this to increase the reach of your campaign. So you can have a referral link. You can also link back to your different social pages. So it's good practice to really customize this footer and use it to improve your campaign. Check your company name and address and add your logo to match your branding. And then when you go to create your email campaign, you can select this header and footer as you're creating your content. As I mentioned, email is permission-based, so I just pointed this out. You always want to make sure that you include that unsubscribe link. Anti-spam compliance. Of course, this is best practice. These laws are pretty complicated, and it's not worth you trying to figure this out on your own, and that's why we go through the entire review process for you there. So that's something just to keep in mind, again, when you're creating your campaign. Timing. This takes experience and practice. It's not something that you're going to figure out just with a couple campaigns. So depending on your recipients, their time zones, their work schedules, you really need to practice and test those campaigns to find the timing that works for you. Based on our experience, we find that midweek days work the best, and usually in the mornings or mid-mornings. So Tuesday through Thursdays, anywhere between 10 a.m. and noon is really a good time when you're first trying out. And of course, after reviewing your content, you always want to study your reports. From the first campaign you send out, we have those reports available for you, so you can check the success of your campaigns. And they're really good tools for you to use to improve future campaigns. I'm just going to show you here all the reports that we have for you to look at. So I can check the delivery rate, any opens and clicks. So I get a nice summary view. And then on the right, we have different individual reports as well. So be sure that you study the recipient activity, so which subscribers in particular engage with your campaigns. And as I mentioned here, you can send a chain campaign, so you can further engage with those subscribers who have opened your content. Okay, and check the link click activity. Again, this helps you to see which content truly engages your subscribers and learn a bit more about their interests. User agent I pointed out. So there's a lot of reports available that it's good practice to look at after every campaign. Testing. This is very important. We had a question about the A/B campaigns. We offer several different advanced campaigns for you to try out. So when you go to create a campaign here, there's an option on the right for advanced campaigns. And this is where you can select the A/B testing campaign. Okay, you can see you can try different subject lines, the sender details, and the actual content of your campaigns. You can choose the percentage of the pool who receives each type of campaign. And then depending on which one does the best, you can then use that as your main campaign to send out. Yeah, to measure the success of the content, you can choose the criteria. So if it's by opens, by clicks, so there's a couple options for you to, depending on what you view as success, there's a couple options for you there. Another type of campaign that we often get questions about is integrating with Zoho Survey. We do offer survey campaigns, and we sent out this type of campaign for the Zoholics event, so many of you probably received that. The administrator settings, this is specific to using Zoho campaigns. It's something that you'll need to set up before sending out any of your emails. And have your email administrator do this for you. And this is where you can control the users and permissions. So under Zoho campaigns, under settings, manage users, you can see you can add your users here. And you'll want to determine who can view and edit your mailing lists, customize or change any of your campaigns. So be sure that you check out these settings to ensure that all the users have the right permissions. All right, so we're going to wrap things up with email deliverability. This is another important concept. So the subject line, the content, all affects how many of your emails reach your recipients' inboxes. But there's also particular settings to verify your domain that you'll need to go through in Zoho campaigns. And I'm going to have Praveen come up here in a little bit, and he's going to show you how to authenticate your email, verify your domain, and also ensure that your sender's address is valid and domain specific. This is important, and I'm going to take you into Zoho campaigns, and he's going to walk you through the technical steps of ensuring that authentication.
Hello everyone. Hi, I'm going to walk you through how to enable the email authentication setup. So the deliverability defines that the number of emails actually delivered in the inbox. Okay, to make sure that you have to do some settings, like you have to enable some settings in the Zoho campaigns. So all you need to do is you have to just click on the settings tab, and there you can find the email authentications. The email authentication is an advanced method to authenticate your sender domain so that it allows our servers to send emails on your behalf. Ultimately, it checks the legitimacy of the senders, and it prevents the sender emails to get landing in the spam or junk box. So all you need to do is you have to just click on the settings, email authentication, and here you have an option to add a domain. So you have to just add your sender domain there, for example, zoho.com, and you have to just click on add. So we will provide you the SPF and DKIM setup. All you need to do is you should have a control to your web hosting console, or you can contact your IT support team to set up this. So you have to just click on this SPF and DKIM setup. So you can find the SPF record there. So you can just copy this and you can publish it in your web console, like hosting console, like for example, GoDaddy and HostGator. So if you already have a SPF record, so you can just include this SPF record in your web console. And the DKIM setup is all you need. We will provide you the subdomain. So you have to just copy this subdomain and you have to paste it in your hosting web console, and just copy this DKIM record and paste it over there. So that will take some 24 hours of time to get it verified in global DNS settings. So once it is done, you can just simply click on this verify link. So that will get verified. So you will get a better deliverability rate using this email authentication. And also the main factor is you have to, as Sarah said, you should have a 50 characters less in the subject line. And the sender domain should be a public, it should not be a public domains. And we would recommend you to use your domain-specific email address for the better deliverability rates. Okay, so when you send an email using your public domains, there's a high chance your emails get delivered in the spam box. So we always recommend our customers to use domain-specific email address. Okay, that's it.